So we're to video number 3 for the murder of Michael Jackson, the cover-up and conspiracy. And this is the video documentary series to back up with evidence, what was stated in the book, and also to bring you some new information that we found since then. To recap, the information that I'm presenting is as of a result of an investigation on my own part into the murder of Michael Jackson. The information that I received through visions, as psychic experiences, or whatever you want to term them as, gave me enough information to go back and through the records and actual evidence to give the information to come to the conclusion that Michael Jackson was murdered and that it was a conspiracy. The first 2 videos did present some of that information. AEG did take out an insurance policy through Lloyd's of London. That insurance policy was to cover cancellation of the shows that Michael was to perform. We saw evidence that Michael didn't want to perform over 10 shows. They scheduled up to 50, again increasing that insurance to cover those 50 shows. We also saw that they canceled that insurance policy for death-only coverage as of May 19th, 2009. So they had death-only insurance as of that date. They also put Dr. Tommy Tomey on that insurance policy in case of a death, who was Michael's ex-manager that he had fired earlier that March. Now, Dr. Tommy Tomey was being paid through AEG. Also, Frank DeLeo was brought in as Michael's manager, also being paid through AEG. And we also saw in the evidence a little bit about the cover-up, how they used the charts in the Conrad Murray trial for phone records instead of actual phone records, and the conspiracy leading with the contract with AEG, the production company that was scheduling the This Is It tour. Included in the contract for Michael Jackson, access to his assets should the event not go on, which meant if the cancellation of the tour happened, he would be giving up all of his assets and everything that he owned. Now, if AEG's intent was to cancel the concerts, collect on the insurance money, and also get those catalogs, they had people in place such as Frank DeLeo and Tommy Tomey to make sure that those deals were negotiated. Now, there is evidence, and it's not just projection that I'm saying, well, this is what I think happened. There's evidence that does suggest that. The evidence for the insurance policy is obviously, we've shown you. The evidence that they only budgeted Conrad Murray for 2 months, we showed you as well. That was May and June. Michael passed on June 25th, 2009. Also, the evidence with Tommy Tomey negotiating deals as far as the conspiracy goes is found in his complaint, Tommy Tomey versus the Michael Jackson estate, that he was negotiating deals and collecting royalties for Michael Jackson himself. So he was negotiating with Sony and renegotiating the contract, refinancing contracts, all apparently on behalf of Michael Jackson, but obviously Neverland has gone up for sale. He's trying to collect his commission on the Neverland home that's been up for sale. And also, currently, as we sit here today, it's July here, 2015. The Michael Jackson estate and Tommy Tomey are currently still in litigation regarding all the money that he took from Michael fraudulently. So the last video, we stated the evidence that we saw 3 people in Michael Jackson's home the morning of June 25th, 2009. Those 3 people were Randy Phillips, Tommy Tomey, and Frank DeLeo. And at the end of the last video, we shown you that Frank DeLeo was actually in the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel. We also showed you 911 records that the 911 call was actually made from that Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel by Alberto Alvarez. We also showed you that Tommy Tomey and Randy Phillips were both together on the morning of June 25th, that Randy stated that he got the news prior to the news even becoming public or to anyone else in the household. So we kind of put those 3 there with that evidence. We also had some testimony that was in the Conrad Murray trial that put them there. We had testimony from Kenny Ortega, which said Randy Phillips was supposed to meet him that morning. Randy Phillips was supposed to meet Michael Jackson that morning before rehearsals. We also had testimony from Michael Amir Williams that stated that he spoke with Frank DeLeo also that morning. So we have all these characters in play. Now, what we're going to continue with is evidence of the cover-up, and this is still on June 25th, 2009, that we're going to continue some of the coverage, because it was on that day that Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at 2:26 in the afternoon. We're going to go to video here and let you see that it was Dr. Tommy Tomei and Jermaine Jackson that announced Michael's death. Tomei was indeed dressed in a white short-sleeved shirt, just as Michael described, with an open collar. I'll also note here that he stated to me that they drove in separate vehicles, which Frank DeLeo did. He drove in a separate vehicle from Dr. Tomei Tomei and Randy Phillips, who were together that morning.
Good evening. My name is Amir Dan Rubin. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the UCLA Hospital System. I'd first like to introduce a personal friend of Mr. Jackson, Dr. Tomei, who will make a brief statement, and then we'll like to bring up Mr. Jermaine Jackson. Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Jermaine Jackson, and he's going to read a statement, and if you please, there will be no question. Jermaine?
This is hard. My brother, the legendary king of pop, Michael Jackson, passed away on Thursday, June 25th, 2009 at 2:26 p.m. It is believed he suffered cardiac arrest in his home. However, the cause of his death is unknown until results of the autopsy are known. His personal physician, who was with him at the time, attempted to resuscitate my brother. And as did the paramedics who transported him to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. Upon arriving at the hospital at approximately 1:14 p.m., a team of doctors, including emergency physicians and cardiologists, attempted to resuscitate him for a period of more than 1 hour, and they were unsuccessful. Our family requests that the media please respect our privacy during this tough time. And may Allah be with you, Michael, always. Love you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make an additional statement, please, that Jermaine Jackson is the only spokesman for the Jackson family. There is no one else is authorized to make any statement on the family behalf except Jermaine Jackson. Thank you very much.
Now, to finish on the June 25th timeline, you'll want to know that at 17:31 in the afternoon that day, Paul Gongaware of AG emailed Bob Taylor and Tim Woolley about insurance coverage. So this was 3 hours after Michael had passed, and he said, if we don't get sickness coverage, we're dropping this policy. Apparently looking still for insurance proceeds from the tour. On 6/25, also the day Michael passed, Quantum Printing was awarded to print the MJ World Tour tickets. These are the souvenir tickets that we mentioned in previous videos that they were going to sell for Michael's This Is It tour. Also at the back end of that selling agency was Tommy on another site that was selling tickets for over the ticket price amount that was legitimate. In other words, they were scalping the tickets and making more money from those. They were also increasing shows, even though tickets were not sold out, they were being held by third-party vendors. On this day, 6/25, Roger Friedman also reports Frank DeLeo is hired as Michael's manager. And now we had a little bit about that in previous videos. Frank DeLeo was apparently brought on as Michael's manager. However, we had testimony from Randy Phillips through his emails that there was no manager or real attorney or anyone in place, although he still claimed that Katz was his attorney and he had to turn Michael's account over to Branca because it was a conflict of interest, although Katz still remained as Michael's attorney. And then also Frank DeLeo, and here he's saying that he's hired officially now as Michael's manager as of the 25th of June. Michael Amir on 6/25 at the hospital says that the house is on lockdown, apparently in the Conrad Murray trial. They said that Conrad Murray wanted to return to the house, and Michael Amir says the house is on lockdown, which means he can't go back into that location. Under cross-examination, he spoke with Frank or Randy on this day as well, Michael Amir. This is one of the security guards. In the evening, regarding a security change, he said he erased all his voicemails except the one from Murray, and that was the one that was played in evidence at the Conrad Murray trial.
When we saw the video of the phone, the iPhone, that was shown to us, did you make that video?
Yes, sir.
When did you make that video?
I don't recall. After the detectives told me to hold on to every evidence and to take pictures of the, they knew Dr. Murray had called me, take pictures of it, do whatever you can to save it. I just decided just to video it, just to show I had it.
Well, did you take the video before you spoke to police officers? On August 31st?
Oh, yes, sir.
Did you take that video before August 31st, 2009?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, sir.
All right. And who, obviously somebody helped you take that video, right? Make that video. Did somebody help you make that video?
Yes, sir.
Who was it that helped you?
It wasn't Fahim or Alberto.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was it that helped you?
Oh, you may answer. My wife. She held the camera while I put it on my phone in my home.
And did you provide that video to police when they came to talk to you August 31st, 2009?
I believe so.
Now, what, did you or?
I think I turned everything in. I mean, I should have.
Well, what else would you have turned in besides the video?
I went, sat, and gave my statement, and I believe I turned it in the pictures, or emailed it or something, or I think so.
You said that the reason you saved that voicemail is because the detectives told you to keep everything important.
Detective.
Sustained. All right, well, who told you to keep everything important?
I believe the detectives.
Okay. And the only thing that you found to be important was that voicemail?
And the truth, the story, the reason I contacted them, I wanted them to know that.
During that evening, did you receive other voicemails?
Of June 25th, 2009?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure I got plenty.
Did you receive some from Alberto?
No, I don't remember. I was
about,
getting called from everybody, friends, associates, business people.
Did you receive any voicemails from Fahim Muhammad?
I wouldn't remember, sir.
It's
possible.
You don't remember, is it what you're saying?
Yeah, it's possible. I don't remember.
We noticed on the video that there were no voicemails on there at all, except for Dr. Murray's.
Yeah, because if detectives were going to see it, I didn't want them seeing a bunch of random, irrelevant numbers.
So you erased everything else?
Yes, sir. I had to clear my voicemail that day. I got calls from everybody.
So, did you show your phone to detectives when they came to talk to you? Or just the video?
Don't remember.
Kenny Ortega testified, of course, at the Conrad Murray trial that Randy Phillips was supposed to pick up Michael this day for rehearsals. He said they were meeting for some reason, then he was going to bring him to rehearsals. Now I have some screen caps of some of the actual testimony verbatim that I'm going to show you. However, the actual video for this, since the release of my book in January of 2015, we opened the year with the release of the book. That evidence has been erased, and you'll see if you go to Conrad Murray trial tapes that there's jumps and skips in the verbiage, and you'll also see even some of the YouTube accounts have put actual quote-unquote fixed, F-I-X-E-D, fixed video, because those scenes have been taken out of those videos. But we do have the screen caps for the actual testimony from those people. On 6/25, Alvarez said, this is Alberto Alvarez, who is another security at the home. There were 3 main security guards that were involved in the cover-up: Alberto Alvarez, Michael Amir Williams, and Fahim Mohammed. And you'll see why I say involved in the cover-up, because we're going to go to testimony in the Conrad Murray trial. And you'll see the testimony where Alvarez said that he had to move Jackson from the bed to the floor. And indeed, when we look at the video and the testimony from Mountain Blount, one of the paramedics that were first on the scene, Michael Jackson was not on the floor. He was still in the bed when he arrived. There were no security guards, no other members except for the team members and the paramedics in the room at the time of arrival.
Now, when you came in up through the foyer and into the room, showing the bed here, the nightstands on the opposing side, what did you see when you first came in?
When I came into the room, I saw Alberto standing up, kind of pacing. I saw Mr. Jackson's feet near the side of the bed on the ground. And as I continued to walk over, I could see the rest of his body. And I saw Dr. Murray near his side.
Okay. And you have a pointer there. If you can point on People's 22 where it was that you saw Michael Jackson.
You can't, the way the picture is, you can't see. I can show you, this is where his feet would be. His body was like this.
On the bed or on the floor?
On the floor.
Okay, let me give you another photograph.
Okay.
But for the record, you've indicated, so as you come into the room and switch. Yes. On People's 22, you pointed to the nightstand area on the far side of the bed?
Yes.
Okay. Which is again reflected in People's 23. Would that be this nightstand that I'm pointing at here, directly next to the bed on the far side of the bed?
There are other individuals in your paramedic group who entered the bedroom before you.
Yes, ma'am.
When you entered the bedroom, what did you see?
I saw a gentleman laying on the bed when I got upstairs.
Was the patient fully on the bed or partially on the bed?
He was fully on the bed, ma'am.
And did you see someone that you see in the courtroom in the resident's bedroom as well as the patient?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that individual seated here, Dr. Conrad Murray, in the dark suit and the white shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
Indicating, thank you, Your Honor, indicating the defendant?
Yes.
Once you step inside the bedroom, tell me what you see going on by those who've entered before you.
Two of our individuals, it was Mark Goodwin and Brett Herring, was assisting Dr. Murray, helping the individual off the bed onto the floor.
Did you see anyone other than Dr. Murray, aside from your group of rescue personnel, inside the bedroom at the time that you entered?
No, ma'am.
On 6/26, this was the day after Michael passed, John Rogers with the Associated Press said that Randy Phillips said Jackson submitted to at least 5 hours of physicals that insurers had insisted on. And we're going through this information because in a cover-up, people will do and say things immediately after to make sure that people know that they're not guilty. And in this case, he had to be submitted to at least 5 hours of physicals, Randy Phillips says from AEG. that insurers had insisted on. And so later now we find, you know, since Catherine Jackson went through the AEG trial, we find information that obviously he didn't pass those physicals. He wasn't going to. He was being given ephedrine from Conrad Murray. He was weak. He had lost substantial weight from the date of Conrad Murray's hire date, which was May 1st. In 2 months' time, the tour people that were working on the tour said he had deteriorated. He could do multiple spins when they started. 8 weeks later, he could barely do one. This was 8 weeks from May 1st. We're looking in June, precisely to the date from Conrad Murray's hire. We find that he's not well enough, so he wasn't well enough to go through another physical. That's why AEG dropped that cancellation insurance. He wasn't going to be insured for cancellation insurance. He wasn't going to pass another physical. And of course, he's saying here that they submitted to at least 5 hours of physicals that insurers had insisted on, so we know better now. On the 28th of June, Randy Phillips and Tommy signed an agreement for expenses to be reimbursed from the estate. Michael died on the 25th. This is 3 days later. Michael died on a Thursday. On that Sunday, they met with the estate. Dr. Tomei, who was not authorized to sign on behalf of Michael Jackson or his company, signed a document stating that he was authorized to represent Michael Jackson Company with Randy Phillips, and they were submitting a budget to be reimbursed from the estate for. They also submitted the footage for This Is It and did a separate deal, as the estate says, to produce that video footage and make it into a movie that you see today called This Is It. On June 30th, 2009, AEG again issues a statement regarding refunds and souvenir tickets for the more than $90 million of tickets sold. And we have an email from Randy Phillips around this same time. This was July 2nd, 2009. Randy Phillips emails, and this was discovered again in the AEG trial, that we just closed a $60 million deal against a giant back end for the rights to the film that will be created from all the footage we so wisely shot from the beginning of the last rehearsals, that Michael's death is a terrible tragedy, but life must go on. AEG will make a fortune from merchandise sales, ticket retention, the touring exhibition, and the film. And again, ticket retention, and I'm bolding that because these tickets went on sale. They sold them knowing that the shows weren't going to go on. They wanted to get the cancellation insurance and the insurance proceeds at Michael's death, and also have you, the public, maintain those tickets because now it's a commodity. Michael's death is a marked event. Quantum Printing was awarded to print those tickets right on the date of his death. And now they're telling you that you need to keep those for souvenir tickets so they can keep also that share of the money. On 7/1, this is just a few days past Michael's death, Sean Trell of AEG tenders the claim on insurance for the death of Michael Jackson. And on 7/1 also, the estate of Michael Jackson, which would be John Branca and John McClain, refused to let Catherine Jackson, Michael's mother, view the contract between her son and AEG Live. And this is the contract. This is a very telling piece of evidence that would disclose all the information about what was at stake for Michael financially, which was everything, and who was actually getting the money, which would be his manager, Dr. Tomei. On 7/1 also 2009, AEG requested Mrs. Jackson, Michael's mother, to sign a confidentiality agreement that would bar her from taking any legal action against them. Again, this is very telling. This is early on. Here she's grieving her son. It is exactly, 5-6 days later after her son's death. She asks to see the contract with AEG. If they didn't have anything to hide, they wouldn't have barred them or tried to take legal action to bar her from taking any legal action against them. On July 2nd, again, barely a week after Michael's death, AEG gets official copyrights for the film This Is It. And I say official because if you deal with the U.S. Copyright Office, you have to submit documents. And in the case of a film, you have to send that actually via mail, postage. So that's going to take a few days. So this is very, very quick on the part of AEG, claiming that this was an unintended event, that they were not shooting footage for anything but Michael's personal use, as stated in the Conrad Murray trial. But now they're filing for official copyrights for a film, This Is It, already on July 2nd. That's when they got the official copyright. So in order for this official copyright to be dated and recorded as July 2nd, it had to have been in the mail at least 2 or 3 days prior. Exclude the weekend because Michael died on a Thursday. And I think you'll get the point to know that it was very intentional, very quick, and the This Is It film footage was not shot just for Michael's personal use. They had all intentions on using that material. There was a memorial service also that was organized by AEG Live on July 7th, and that memorial service was organized by AEG and AEG's Ken Ulrich Ventures LLC, which is also a company that Randy Phillips has a part in. On July 7th also we see that Julie Hollander from AEG claims that Frank DeLeo was paid at the memorial services for his services June 29th through July 26th, and this will show you that Frank DeLeo was indeed being paid and under the direction and in conjunction with AEG and not Michael's manager. On August 7th, 2009, there were emails from Randy Phillips, and this was that his death was a terrible tragedy, but life must go on. AEG will make a fortune from merchandise sales, ticket retention, and the touring exhibition and the film. Already on August 18th, 2009, the press is swirling about this time about Conrad Murray. He's the doctor. He's the one that's administering propofol to Michael Jackson. And he's obviously being the point man. But Randy Phillips writes in an email that he thinks he knows what killed Michael and it would exonerate Conrad Murray. So I guess that's kind of testimony that if he would know what killed Michael or thought he would know what killed Michael and exonerate Conrad Murray, it would indicate to me some type of guilt. On August 19th, which is the next day, the autopsy reveals acute propofol intoxication, the manner of death, homicide, injection by another. And I want to go through some of the autopsy reports with you because it's going to show you more evidence as far as the injection sites that I saw, and also testimony in the Conrad Murray trial. You'll see the prosecutors bring up a bag, an IV bag, and they'll have a vial placed in that IV bag. It's not in the IV bag. It was never photographed in the IV bag. Alberto Alvarez testified that he drew a picture of the IV bag, and we'll see the picture, and it is indeed a picture of an IV bag, but there's no vial in there. And they state that that's what was used. Conrad Murray did this little contraption, and that's what helps kill Michael Jackson. Now,
And the one you were asked to remove had a bottle inside of it?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe what you observed about that bottle or that saline bag that you removed?
Well, what I recall is, like I said, it was at my eye level, and I was able to notice that at the bottom of the bag there was what appeared to me like a milky white substance, sir.
Okay. Was that in the bottle or the bag, or could you tell with certainty?
I recall seeing it at the bottom of the bag, sir.
Okay. And at an earlier date, earlier than today, did you attempt to draw a picture of the kind of the general shape and structure of that bag?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can I have a diagram? It's previously been shown to defense counsel. May this be 27 for identification?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
So we're showing you. Could we dim the lights, please, Your Honor?
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're showing you what's been marked People's 27. Is that your drawing?
I'm embarrassed to say, but yes.
Okay. The topmost part of that diagram, this basically large rectangle, does that represent the actual saline bag itself?
Correct.
Okay. And then it comes down to the bottom here where the saline bag terminates, and you drew this this apparatus or this device on the bottom of that saline bag. Does this drawing accurate what you saw?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you saw some white substance, does this diagram show where that white substance was?
Yes, sir. Can I use my pointer?
Please.
To show. What I recall is seeing the milky white substance in this area here, and then at the bottom of this particular portion, device here.
Okay, so you've indicated a milky white substance in this bottommost apparatus on your diagram.
Correct.
And you also recall seeing some white substance above the apparatus, which would actually be, I guess, in the saline bag, to your knowledge?
Correct.
Okay. And inside of this, then, was an actual bottle or glass vial?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that essentially resting at the bottom of this bag?
Correct.
Okay. On the inside?
On the inside, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Mr. Alvarez, showing you People's 30, and if I could take a moment, Your Honor, to publish this to the jury.
Is there any objection?
No
Judge?
objections.
Thank you. You may. Again, starting in that same area, working the way down to the other jurors.
I've done so, Your Honor.
Thank you. Have the jurors seen the exhibit? Indicating affirmative. Thank you.
Mr. Alvarez, showing you what was marked.
30 is received in evidence.
May I retrieve scissors from your clerk, Your Honor?
All right. Why don't you indicate its present form and
Your
what,
Honor,
you want to do?
I have what was previously boiled as LAPD evidence item 106, marked as People's 30 for identification. It is a 100 milliliter propofol bottle in a sealed plastic bag. At this time, what I'd like to do is open this sealed plastic bag so that I could retrieve People's 30 from that bag.
Any objections?
No objections.
Thank you. You may.
At this time, I'm using scissors to cut open the evidence item. I'm now holding People's 30. And also is reflected on the screen. Does this appear to be the bottle that you saw inside of LAPD evidence item 110, People's 29, on June 25th, 2009?
It appears to be, yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recall whether it was in the position as I am holding it now, or in the position I'm holding it now where the writing on the label would be upside down?
It was towards the bottom, but it was kind of slanted towards your, if you go to your right.
Okay, so do you see this rubber stopper?
Yes.
Okay. And the metal rim around that rubber stopper?
Yes.
Okay. Would that have been generally toward the port of the saline bag?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you said it was slightly sideways?
Correct.
Okay. For the record, Your Honor, I'm now taking People's 30, the propofol bottle. I'm placing it inside of People's 29. Mr. Alvarez, showing you People's 29.
Can I take a look at that, Judge? May I go over here?
Both counsel may meet.
I'll watch.
I'm doing it so Mr. Chernoff can see.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
May I publish this to the jury, Your Honor?
Tell us again what you just did.
I had a propofol bottle inside of the saline bag through the slit that it was previously identified.
I think you were going to ask Mr. Alvarez if that's what he saw. Is that where we're
I
heading?
think that's the next, yeah, that's why I just asked.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'd like to publish it to the jury.
I think you need to ask the question of Mr. Alvarez first, foundationally.
Thank you. Mr. Alvarez, showing you People's 29 and 30 with the propofol bottle now inside of the saline bag. Does this accurately represent what you saw hanging from the IV stand on June 25th, 2009?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You'll see in the autopsy photo, though, in the toxicology reports, that the IV tubing that was found on the scene did not contain any propofol or any lidocaine. It was clear fluid. If there was propofol in a bottle or in the IV bag, as stated by prosecution, there should have been evidence of that propofol in the IV tubing. There was not. There was, however, propofol and lidocaine present in the V joint of the tubing that was connected to Michael's leg, and that would be the area where I saw Frank DeLeo insert a needle into the vial at his leg. That does check out. There is also an injection site in Michael's right arm at the joint where Tommy administered a shot, as I saw in my vision. That is also in the autopsy report. The toxicology report revealed levels of propofol that were so large that they deemed this murder a homicide, and homicide is murder. The injection by another confirms it. It was an injection. It was not an IV that was connected to him that gave him so much propofol. In order for that much propofol to kill you, you had to have it all at one time, not over a long period of time. So on 12/8/2009, ABC News reported that the Neverland items would be auctioned off in April. And these are all the items that Tommy was trying to auction off March previous that year, that Michael put a halt to, that he didn't want auctioned off. But here he still maintains these items and he's auctioning them off anyway. And then on October 27th, 2010, USA Today, Anthony McCarty reports that the defense lawyers for the doctor, Conrad Murray, charged in Michael Jackson's death are seeking urgent testing of 2 syringes in an IV bag found after his death. Now, a guilty doctor probably wouldn't want to get evidence on it unless he thought somebody else was in the room and someone else gave an injection to Michael, even though he states he thinks Michael did it himself. However, these 2 syringes to me represent 2 syringes that I saw Frank DeLeo use, 1 syringe, and then another syringe that was used by Tommy himself. So Conrad Murray was also looking for testing on those items. Now on December 9th, 2010, the Rap interviewed Frank DeLeo when he was still living, and it said that Phillips was concerned that the company could be on the hook for tens of millions of dollars, production costs, guarantees, ticket sales, and more if the fragile Jackson were unable to perform his 50-date London run, according to the music industry leader. And this is basically Frank's testimony to the demeanor of Randy Phillips at this time, worrying about what's going to cover production costs, of course insurance, ticket sales, and more, if he was unable to perform the 50-date tour that he himself scheduled for him. So you know where that is, 50 dates. Someone schedules for someone else, and then to be concerned about it, well, you would be concerned about it because you knew you needed to collect insurance on it to cover your production costs and what you conspired to do. On June 6, 2011, Lloyd's Insurance files suit against AEG. Now, Lloyd's Insurance is the insurance company that AEG went under contract with to, I have my dog here, so I'm sorry. Lloyd's Insurance was the company that AEG went into contract with to get insurance for the This Is It concerts, for cancellation insurance, and then also for accident insurance, which was deemed death insurance in this case. The cancellation insurance was to go in effect as soon as Michael did a physical in London. Now, we already showed you the budget for AEG included Conrad Murray, who was supposed to go to London with Michael. He was supposed to be his physician on the tour. But that budgeted amount for Conrad Murray was only for 2 months, May and June. AEG never intended on going to London. They never intended to have this physical done, and that's why they dropped insurance that May 19th for accident coverage, because they knew that wasn't going to take place. There would be no cancellation of the shows, and this was their intent to commit murder to Michael Jackson because they could collect still on insurance and then still collect on his assets. So Lloyd's files an insurance claim against AEG, and they say that the death was a homicide, not an accident, not covered due to continued requests for information that was not given. They continually requested information on Michael's health, his doctors, and again, it was ruled a homicide, it's not an accident. They're looking at it as death insurance, and that someone intentionally killed him. Someone intentionally killed Michael Jackson. This is Lloyd's of London. This is not me. This is paperwork. Lloyd's of London filed a suit against AEG Live stating that his death was not an accident. It was not manslaughter, as in Conrad Murray manslaughter trial. He was a bad doctor. This is death is a homicide. This was an intentional murder. It was not an accident. This is not from me. This is from Lloyd's of London themselves. On August 1st, 2011, and here we get back into the conspiracy part, the estate files an objection to Lloyd's notice of related cases. And this is when Catherine Jackson versus AEG were in trial. Basically, the estate did not want Catherine Jackson and her team at Panish, Foyle & Shea to find out about this insurance policy or the Lloyd's case, because it would have revealed all the insurance aspects that went into this murder of Michael Jackson, and it would have given him the information to go further in their case against AEG. So not just AEG, but here we have the estate, John Branca and John McClain files the objection to the notice of related cases. And as we saw in previous videos, that may be because John Branca was involved in that insurance case from the beginning. They said Michael Jackson was indeed not Michael Jackson, it was Michael Jackson LLC, and they were doing some funny things with the companies there that were under this insurance policy. Again, that's not from me, that's from the actual Lloyd's suit. Lloyd's of London claimed that was fictitious names, and they were trying to pass it off to the estate. On August 24th, AEG filed an unverified complaint with Lloyd's copying the Michael Jackson LLC. Again, Michael Jackson LLC is the estate now. Michael Jackson's information is now being given to the estate of Michael Jackson, John Branca, and John McClain. And AEG says it's unverified. So AEG now is working together with the Michael Jackson estate, not just for proceeds from the tour, this is it, film or production or the new CD, the music CD, but now they're working together to put a halt to this Lloyd's of London insurance deal, the insurance policy information. On August 30th, 2011, they take it one step further. The Michael Jackson estate files a motion to quash the deposition subpoenas related to the insurance. And again, they don't want the information being leaked out. The AEG trial with Catherine Jackson is going on. They file a motion to quash all the information that can be deposed in discovery as far as the Lloyd's of London insurance case goes. The next day, and here we go to the cover-up in the LA court system. The next day, August 31st, one day later, after the Michael Jackson estate files a motion to quash the deposition, the amici curiae is filed by District Attorney Stephen Cooley to withhold insurance evidence until the conclusion of the Conrad Murray trial. Now, Conrad Murray was tried and convicted on my birthday, actually November 7th, 2011. We're back in August. I believe Catherine Jackson probably had a good indication on what went on in her son's death. The estate files a motion to quash the depositions related to the Lloyd's of London case on August 30th. The next day, Stephen Cooley, the district attorney in the state of California, files this amici curiae to withhold the insurance until the conclusion of the Conrad Murray trial. So even if that insurance information was produced in the Conrad Murray trial, that could have led to the freedom of Conrad Murray and not the conviction of manslaughter. Again, Lloyd's of London contended that this was a murder. It was a homicide. It was not manslaughter. It was not, again, the autopsy revealed homicide. That's murder. It's not manslaughter. It's not because we couldn't get enough on the doctor because we didn't have enough evidence, so we're going to go to manslaughter because he was a negligent doctor. The findings here are the autopsy, homicide, injection by another, that's murder. The findings here in the Lloyd's case, homicide, murder, not accidental death. Now, if you go back to the Conrad Murray trial, I want you to look at the evidence that presented. They presented charts instead of actual phone records. They presented presumptions based on an IV tubing bag that didn't even contain propofol or lidocaine. They said that the doctor was there and he was under his care. However, they did not look at insurance or intent, and if they did, the insurance coverage for AEG would have been presented. They would have saw that they had death-only insurance. They would have saw that Tommy, who claimed that he would bring death and destruction to the Jackson family, was named on that policy as an additional insured, and they would have saw that they had no cancellation insurance for the concerts, and they would have saw the contract and the people that were brought into Michael Jackson's life. They did not. They did not choose to look at that information. They chose to convict Conrad Murray for manslaughter on much lesser evidence instead of going after the real people. And I say that with conviction because there were several articles that were written at the same time. This article that I have from February 4th of 2010 claims that there was an internal war and struggle going on at the LA District Attorney's Office. This one by Gerald Posner states that the LA District Attorney's Office is yet to blow another big case. The internal battles that helped delay the charges expected against Dr. Murray today and says that are they going to blow it again? And I'll read you some experts, and I'm going to show through on the screen this actual article. But it says this Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, which has seen a 2-decade streak of losing its high-profile cases from Robert Blake to O.J. Simpson, is supposed to start his latest trial of the century today. So far, with Dr. Conrad Murray expected to turn himself in to face involuntary manslaughter charges, they're off to a rough start. A retired senior Los Angeles police official and a Los Angeles-based defense attorney, both familiar with the specifics of the Michael Jackson death probe, describe a series of angry battles encompassing which DA would handle the case, what charges would be brought, and whether to go to a grand jury or have a preliminary hearing. This partly explains the long delay in moving forward with the case, which has puzzled so many observers. These fights, the sources said, even pitted prosecutors against their own Bureau of Investigation. Such accounts dovetail with the TMZ report yesterday that the DA's office has been feuding with the LA Police Department, and that today's anticipated 8 months of a costly investigation in a bankrupt state. One prominent defense attorney told me they have no choice but to deliver an indictment or they will be held to pay. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. They didn't bother to go through the investigation. Internally, I believe that the police force probably knew that there was much more at play, but since they didn't want to go into a full investigation and spend money on another investigation, they hid the insurance policy and got Conrad Murray for as much as they could, which was manslaughter. Of course, Conrad Murray was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter on November 7th. He again has appealed. That in the state of California, he's appealed all the way up to the Superior Courts. He is appealing with the federal courts. He's still looking for testing on those 2 syringes and the IV bag. He has not been successful to clear his name. And in the meantime, the estate of Michael Jackson filed suit against Tommy for breach of fiduciary duty. This was on February 17th, 2012. His breach of fiduciary duty included taking Michael Jackson's funds, and commingling with them with his, so he could use it for his personal use. He was accepting different kinds of royalty payments directly from Michael Jackson himself. They said that Michael was broke, but Tommy was collecting in the hundreds of thousands in royalty payments and basically made Michael cash poor. On April 19th, 2012, AEG files a motion for a protection order in the Lloyd's of London, this is again the insurance case, to conceal the findings. They want to conceal what Lloyd's of London has divulged in their insurance case from the public and from any other court case. And you probably wouldn't do that if you didn't have something to hide. We'll just leave it there. June 6, 2012, Tommy files a suit against the Michael Jackson estate. This is a cross-complaint, basically against them. Now, we have, people like to hang together when they're alike, and now we have 2 of the conspirators going after one another because it concerns money. The complaint that Tommy filed included the statements, and I'm going to quote these. And this particular suit was on Scribd, but is no longer there. So, in addition, Tommy managed scheduling arrangements with AEG representatives, which would mean that he oversaw scheduling with the AEG representatives. And if you remember back in the Conrad Murray trial, Kenny Ortega said he wasn't showing up for rehearsals. Well, someone was managing that scheduling arrangement, and it looks like, according to Dr. Tommy, it was him and AEG. He oversaw transportation and security. That would probably mean that he oversaw Fahim Mohammed, Alberto Alvarez, and Michael Amir Williams. He accepted Michael's royalty payments from Sony to buy a home. he coordinated with Sony, and these are his words, this is on the document, it is not mine. He assisted in live and taped performances. He provided the material for the feature film, This Is It. And the contract with Michael included a $35,000 a month monthly wire transfer to Michael, to Tomei on behalf of Michael Jackson. So he's suing. He wants his money from the estate because he had a contract to be paid $35,000 a month from Michael Jackson. And he also said he did all of this for Sony, and that basically he's owed something. On June 6, 2012, again, he also stated that he arranged for Michael's rental home. This was the home on Carrollwood Drive, which would again give you the indication why he would have access to that home, and that he worked with advisors regarding auditing and refinancing contracts with Sony ATV. And I'll say that again because this is the conspiracy part. He worked with advisors, Dr. Tomei worked with advisors regarding auditing and refinancing contracts with Sony ATV. Sony was the middleman. He's negotiating. He got this deal with AEG to set Michael up for a contract to get all his assets, and in the meantime he's negotiating refinancing contracts with Sony directly, Sony ATV, on behalf of Michael, not in any interest of Michael Jackson, in interest of himself, in interest of AEG and the Michael Jackson estate. Now, these statements are not psychic statements. They're not something that I'm surmising. These statements are something that he made himself on his complaint, Tomei versus the estate of Michael Jackson, that was filed in the courts of Los Angeles. At July 30th, 2012, CNN's Alan Duke reports Conrad Murray wants a key piece of evidence tested. Another piece, a 100-milliliter bottle of propofol. Prosecutors say it contained the fatal dose of the surgical anesthetic. So the prosecutors are now, according to this article, are saying that the fatal dose, which was this last dose that actually killed Michael Jackson, came from this 100-milliliter bottle of propofol. So that kind of negates the fact that they used the IV system with the propofol bottle inside the IV bag that was slit, and there wasn't any propofol or lidocaine evidenced in the tubing that it was connected to. This would probably give an indication that, as according to the autopsy report, say that there was an injection from a bottle of propofol, and that was the injection that actually killed him. Again, the homicide report stated death by injection. On September 10th, 2012, AEG dropped the insurance claim with Lloyd's of London after the emails of Michael Jackson's health surfaced during the Catherine Jackson versus AEG trial. Now, Michael Jackson's health, obviously, if we go back again, just in this video, we stated that they were issuing statements that Michael was great, he was in great health. They even testified that at the Conrad Murray trial. His performances were phenomenal. He was in great shape. He had to go through 5 hours of physicals. And now all of a sudden we see these emails that are testifying from the people that were actually involved in the This Is It concert series, that Michael's weight dropped dramatically in the 8 weeks leading up to his death, that he indeed was not in good physical health. He had chills. He seemed disoriented. And these were the emails that they did not let Lloyd's of London look at. And that's one of the complaint by Lloyd's of London Insurance Company in their complaint against the AEG company is that these emails that they asked for during discovery were not presented to them, and that's one of the reasons they wanted to withhold that insurance information from the AEG trial, from any other prosecuting attorney that was looking into information about this case. But we'll also state here, once they dropped that insurance claim, lo and behold, here comes the estate, and they continue litigation even though Lloyd's say they should not be party to the suit. Lloyd's of London states that the estate of Michael Jackson shouldn't have anything to do with this particular contract. Now, the contract was with AEG Live. It was not with Michael Jackson. If he was a party of the insured, or part of the insured possibly, but it was the Michael Jackson Company. And in this Lloyd's of London settlement, in this suit, you bet that there's a bunch of information that was in there, because they did file the motion to quash depositions. They filed to withhold the insurance evidence until the conclusion of the Conrad Murray trial. And they also filed for a protection order against Lloyd's to conceal the findings. Now, that insurance claim and that insurance litigation was settled under wraps with the estate of Michael Jackson. Settled under wraps, which means the findings were concealed, and also the settlement was concealed with the estate of Michael Jackson. And that was actually on January 15th, 2014. At this same time, 2 days prior to that, Catherine Jackson was rejected for an appeal from the LA judge with AEG Live. Now, Catherine Jackson went to trial with AEG Live. She was given one trial, but as you probably already know, that trial ended up releasing AEG Live because they claimed they did not hire Dr. Murray. If they would have been able to get the Lloyd's of Insurance information, they would have saw and brought that into the courtroom, that they had an insurance policy that would show intent that they indeed wanted to kill Michael Jackson. Nothing to do with Conrad Murray, really, except for the care that he was giving him, making him ill so he couldn't perform the concerts. But it was definitely linked to AEG directly, and the Lloyd's of Insurance policy would have shown that, but they decided to keep that under wraps, obviously, because then a whole other can of worms would have been exposed. I'll just add here that my testimony was supposed to be in that particular case for AEG Live, because I did witness Randy Phillips and Tommy in the bedroom injecting the final dose. Those two should not have been there. Tommy was fired months before. AEG had no business being in that bedroom that particular morning. I did contact not only the LA Police Department originally back in 2011, but the district attorney, Jackie Lacey, several times. I never received a reply from her. Obviously, I guess she's close with the district attorney, Stephen Cooley, and he obviously is the one that filed the brief for Amici Curie, which concealed the findings and concealed the insurance policy for Lloyd's of London. I did also contact the Attorney General office in the state of California, and only to be given information basically to contact the DA's office. So this isn't something that I taking lightly. I'm, not a street psychic that I just think, well, this is what I think's happened, and I don't have anything better to do because, and I'm going to do a video. This is serious stuff to me. This has been all of my life, and I wouldn't go this far if I thought it was just something that I received, and boy, that was weird, This was very strong evidence, and obviously the evidence, the paperwork evidence, the testimony, all backs it up. But these particular attempts for Catherine Jackson and her family to try and get justice in the LA court system were deliberately rejected in the LA court systems, which is a sad thing. We did see Stephen Cooley accepting donations from AEG Live. There have been a myriad of articles out there that AEG Live and the district attorney office is tight. They are in a deficit financially, but I don't think that gives them the right to decide to reject justice, because that's what they're there for, is to achieve justice for the family. They showed pictures of the Jackson children, Paris, Prince, and Blanket during the Conrad Murray trial. I don't think that it's acceptable to hide evidence, such as an insurance policy, that would give intent for someone to actually murder Michael Jackson and then try someone who wasn't guilty of the crime and actually put him in jail for a crime that he didn't commit, and show pictures of the children when the children were there with their father. They witnessed the treatment that their father had. They witnessed his fear. They witnessed what he was going through for the last 2 months of his life. Then to lose the father, their only figure, their only parental figure in their life, and then have the LA court system conspire to cover this complete murder up, is just a kick in the face. They should not have even given them the opportunity to present pictures of children that are now without their father and now without justice in the courts of LA. I think that's a complete outrage. These children have lost their father. Their father lost everything that he had worked for in his life. And now these children go through life without a father, without a mother, knowing what their father went through, knowing that this case was covered up in the LA court system. They're not stupid kids. They know what was going on. And they step out into the world now knowing what happened, knowing that there's no one there to protect them, when we're here in the United States of America supposedly having a court system that is there put in place for justice, that is accepting bribes and donations because they're in a low fund, in financial detriment, and look the other way basically because they don't want to go through the pains of prosecuting a company that's contributing to their campaign. If this was Jackie Lacey's children, if this was District Attorney Stephen Cooley's children that were left without them, I don't think they'd want their children to be treated the same way. Catherine Jackson has gone through years of trying to just find out what happened to her son. Just find out. Yet she is completely indicated, or sorry, this upsets me. She's completely overwhelmed with paperwork from not only AEG Live to not sue them because they got something to cover up, but now from the estate of Michael Jackson, they don't want her to see the contract. No one wants her to find out the truth, including the LA court system, who won't give her an appeal on the trial, who won't give her information from Lloyd's of London suit. No one wants her to get any information. She's just a mother trying to find out what happened to her son. Taking care of, by the way, her grandchildren who are left fatherless. You know, this is what, the United States of America? Here we have 2 black men, Michael Jackson and Conrad Murray. Conrad Murray is found guilty of a crime that he didn't commit, and we have a dead man because somebody wanted assets. 2 people. I don't think it's the first time somebody's indicted a black man for something a white man did. Sorry, that's just my opinion. So the estate settles the insurance lawsuit, basically for AEG keeping the details under wraps. We're going to go to autopsy evidence. We're going to show you the levels of propofol that was in Michael's system, the ephedrine that was in Michael's system. We're going to show you that the tubing, according to the toxicology reports, had no propofol in it. This negates the trial with the bottle in it and negates all the testimony from Alberto Alvarez stating that he saw this bag hanging up in the bedroom of Michael Jackson with a slit in it and a bottle, when indeed he was the one that produced the diagram with no bottle or evidence in it. And let me state again, if there was a slit bag with a bottle of propofol in it, it would have been in evidence. It was not. The prosecuting attorney walked up to Alberto Alvarez and said, "Here's the slit bag. Let me put the bottle of propofol in it." If it was that way when they found it, it should have been that way when it was in evidence, and it was not. Nor was there any propofol or lidocaine found in the tubing that was in the toxicology reports or the autopsy reports and the clinical trials. We're going to see in the Conrad Murray trial also Richard Seneff testifying about the 911 call. Again, Conrad Murray, according to this testimony, shows charts that were used that he called Michael Amir Williams, and they spoke. Yet when we get to the AEG trial again, we'll see actual phone records from Conrad Murray. He was on the phone actually when that 911 call was made. There was no way that he could have been in the room on the phone and then have Alberto Alvarez in that same room, obviously because the call came from the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel, which we'll see again on video, that during the Conrad Murray trial they covered up, because once questioned about it, Mr. Seneff states that he doesn't know why Beverly Hills PD is on there. Well, Beverly Hills PD is on there because the original call came through Beverly Hills Police Department. If you call 911, it hooks you up with the area that's closest to you. The original call came from a cell phone. Of course, that was Alberto Alvarez, his cell phone number, but the original location came from the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel. That location was in Beverly Hills and was routed to Beverly Hills Police Department. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. Yet in the Conrad Murray trial, they deliberately stopped, and you'll see on this piece of evidence, it's blurred out on the trial when they present the evidence with Richard Seneff, who's going over the documents. They negate the address, they negate where the original call came from, and brush over this very important evidence.
Mr. Seneff, I'd like to go over the information contained on People's Number 43, the teletype that you received prior to departing from Station 71. And I see that there's handwriting on the exhibit as well. Do you recognize that handwriting?
I do. It's my handwriting.
Very well. I'd like to focus your attention right now only on the typewritten information contained on the exhibit. We're going to get to the handwritten information at a later point in your testimony. Is that all right?
That will be fine.
So starting at the top, the first line, tell me what this information conveys.
Engine 71, Rescue Ambulance 71.
The second line?
The address, 100 North Carrollwood Drive, and the closest cross street, which is Sunset Boulevard.
And the next line, please?
The incident number, it's how we keep track. It's incident number 512.
Yes.
And 512, it's a cardiac arrest. The 1221 is the time the call came into our dispatch center, followed by the date, and 50-year-old male. The next line is the protocol number that the dispatchers, 9, I believe, is cardiac arrest. E is not breathing at all.
So far, this is the information that you've received from the 911 call. Does this information come almost instantaneously at the time that the 911 operator is receiving the information?
Yes, that is correct.
And the next line?
That's the phone number that the call came in from. And that's the radio channel, and that's whose area it is, 71's.
That would be your designation, correct?
That is correct.
And the next line?
The dispatch time when we get the alarm at the station at 12:22.
Now, what's the significance of you hitting the alarm? What does that mean?
I'm sorry?
You said that 12:22 reflects the time that you hit the alarm. Is that correct?
Oh, no, that's the time the alarm comes into the station.
12:22?
That's correct. And it's the date, and the other console part, I believe, is the dispatcher who took the call.
Very well. And the next line?
It's a 911 call through a wireless phone. And I don't know what the Beverly Hills PD part, but the query caller means that the caller is still on the phone.
Very well. And on the last two lines means what to you?
It's just the time. It's 911 call where the call originated.
So 12:21:04 is the call originating perhaps through the Beverly Hills PD that was then transferred to the closest responding unit, correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
We'll see the phone records on Conrad Murray's Part 5, or Day 1, Part 3, at .32.26. That's 32 minutes and 26 seconds in. The AT&T representative that they so painstakingly brought into the Conrad Murray trial states that he cannot validate the records that were used. They're charts. They're third-party phone records. Again, third-party phone records. AT&T representative was brought in to give testimony that aren't these the same phone numbers and the same records that you reviewed, sir? Yes, 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 yes. But instead of showing the actual phone records during that trial, they chose to create charts.
No. Okay, showing you the call that was, time of call says 10:34 a.m. Do you see that?
Yes, once again, this information that you're giving me is from a different party. This is not AT&T's records.
Those charts showed phone records from Michael Amir, who apparently called Conrad Murray, who was, again, not on the actual phone records. And I'll show you Conrad Murray's phone records, the actual phone records of Conrad Murray, and I'll also show you the charts that they produced on the Conrad Murray trial. The call times do not confer. So we're going to show you other footage from the Conrad Murray trial, and these are objections in the Conrad Murray trial. You'll see all of these objections when anything that has to do with the insurance or the contract come up. And again, the amici curiae was filed by DA Stephen Cooley to cover up that insurance evidence. The contract had all the information in it that would be pertaining to Michael's catalog, who Sony wanted. And again, it was Sony representatives that were being brought back into Michael's life that wanted to obtain that catalog. Again, Frank DeLeo, Tommy was obviously negotiating all the Sony ATV catalogs. Again, that's not my word. That's from his own words in his own litigation with the estate of Michael Jackson. Frank DeLeo was given a seat on the board of Sony after his arrival with AEG. And that contract would have revealed what was at stake for Michael personally. The insurance information would have given the intent to murder Michael Jackson, which was death insurance. Also, the fact that they only contracted Conrad Murray for 2 months. I think that's more than enough evidence to get a trial underway. If I was a prosecuting attorney, I think that I just found probably more evidence than they did on Conrad Murray himself. Yet this remains to be covered up. Michael's family remains to be in mourning, and also without the satisfaction of knowing that justice has been served. That's one of the reasons I decided to do this video series. I'm not a haphazard psychic going around saying, I think this is what happened. No, this is what the evidence that you've seen concludes. And I would hope that somewhere down the line there was an honest district attorney that would do their job and actually obtain justice for the people instead of accepting donations from large companies like AEG Live to cover up murders and conspiracies like these.
We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Conrad Robert Murray, guilty of the crime of involuntary manslaughter in violation of Penal Code Section 192, subsection B. Alleged victim, Michael Joseph Jackson, alleged date of June 25th, 2009, as charged in count 1 of the information. This 7th day of November 2011, four-person juror ID number 145, seat number 3. Is this your verdict? Is this your individual and personal verdict? So say you one, so say you all. All jurors indicating the affirmative. Ladies and gentlemen,
AEG's stake in the contract.
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Can you tell us after, can you tell us what Michael Jackson's stake in it was? Can you tell us what, could you estimate for us how much you think Michael Jackson was capable of making, assuming successful completion of the 31 shows?
Objection relevance.
Sustained. 315, 352.
The cost of all of these particular preparations and production, the early production, is that something that the contract spoke to?
Objection relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
part of the contract.
You may.
Were you insured?
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
In a black suit and soft-spoken, Prince described his father as a nurturer and teacher, but Prince appeared to choke up when questioned about the day his father died. He testified that the King of Pop was excited about the comeback tour, but in the weeks leading up to his death, he became really skinny, and his body temp would go up and down. Prince said his father would cry after phone calls, saying, quote, "They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me." According to Prince, he was referring to AEG Live CEO Randy Phillips and his ex-manager, Dr. Tome Tome.
You know when he was scheduled to speak?
Objection relevance.
Last subject was whether he was late. This is whether or not he had attended. Should I just stay away from press conference at all?
Correct. Thank you.
No press conference.
You can move to another side. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Do you know, could you narrow it down to a month? Did they begin in April or in May?
I believe that they may have started in May.
I believe your quote was, "Never felt at any time that Michael Jackson wasn't ready for the shows." That's what you just said?
That is correct.
Phillips, is AEG currently being sued?
Objection relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained. We'll go to another subject. Thank you.
The 16-year-old is at the center of a wrongful death.
I received a phone call from Frank DeLeo. I think it was approximately 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning.
The desperate 911 call comes from inside Michael Jackson's rented Beverly Hills mansion. It is just before 12:30 p.m., June 25th, 2009.
Michael Jackson was taken to the hospital?
I received a phone call from Frank DeLeo. I think it was approximately 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning.